Joining us now with more on this issue is Sarah Jonas, Vice President of Youth Programs at a program called Children's Aid. Sarah, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
This is such a complex issue, and I want to get into the challenges. What are the main challenges for these families that they face from moving to shelter and shelter? I mean, I can only imagine the stress that it puts on these kids, whether you're in school or not, but especially now when they're in this summer of uncertainty.
Absolutely. And we know that stability is so key for a successful learning experience. So the disruption that's caused by moving from shelter to shelter causes great anxiety and really impacts the continuity and the stability that are so important for young people's learning and success in school.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like for these families as they deal with this. And then you talk about some of the rules that have been put into place, including the 60-day shelter policy impact. How does that impact especially the emotional and the mental well-being of the children and their families?
Yeah, so, we know post-pandemic we're seeing nationwide a crisis of mental health. So you can only imagine moving, this disruption, this sort of constant change and instability, that just increases dramatically the anxiety that these young people and families are already feeling. And that impacts their ability to learn, on top of what they've already experienced, the trauma they may have experienced just getting to this country in the first place.
And that's where you step in, Children's Aid. So what support systems do you provide to help them cope with this?
Right. So we partner closely with schools. We believe that through those kinds of partnerships with schools, we can create safe and nurturing environments for young people and families. And through doing this, we can ensure that our young people are successful because we know that when their parents are engaged, when families are engaged, young people are successful in school and outside of school. So that's really a priority for us at Children's Aid, building that sense of community with parents, students, everyone in the entire school community so that all families and young people have someone they can turn to for support.
What does that partnership look like? What types of programs, what types of services do these families receive?
Right. So you heard a little bit earlier, in some of what was shared, that everything from health and mental health supports, after-school programs to really engage young people. All of these things are so important when young people are struggling, and just really helping to create that warm and nurturing environment so that young people know that someone at school cares about them and is here to support them and their families with anything that they need to be successful in school.
As we approach the summer months, we're in the summer months, but as we approach next year, these families are facing frequent relocations, and that impacts the academic performance and the social integration of that school experience. What can be done to minimize those interruptions and the disruptions that they often see?
So I think, one thing that's really important is making sure that young people know that there's someone that cares about them, and that outreach to the family and the student continues throughout the summer. Because we know that especially over the summer, young people need to stay connected to school so that they have that continuity from the end of school year and the start of the next school year. So that outreach, that knowing that someone is still there every step of the way with you and continues to care about and guide you is so important. So whether that's, a fun and enriching summer experience, a summer camp experience, all of those kinds of things keep young people engaged and supported and keeps their families connected.
And so from a city's point of view, and this is just a big struggle with the lack of resources, and we've heard that with even outside of the migrant crisis issue, but the money is so tight here. We've talked about budget cuts potentially coming to the libraries. That was restored. We talked about cuts to other services, and they found some way to kind of get those back into play. But when you talk about the city, from the city and the state point of view, what can they do to help organizations like Children's Aid take care of these migrant families who are here for however long they're going to be here?
So, we heard, we've been talking about how the 60-day rule provides so much anxiety and creates such a challenge for young people and families. I think that we all need to be focused on working together to make sure that we're coordinating supports and services for young people and families and creating real opportunities for children, families, and community partners to work together with schools to serve those families. So whether that's coordinating around temporary shelter, legal assistance towards immigration status and work authorization, making sure that there's workforce development opportunities to enable people to obtain work, and providing case management so that families can achieve self-sufficiency, which is something we know that all families of all children seek for.
Sarah Jonas from Children's Aid, we appreciate the conversation and your perspective. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much for having me.